Alrighty, everybody, YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, grandmas, grandpas, you know the drill. Welcome. First Wine Wednesday of 2026. That's right, Andrew. Welcome in, chat. Welcome in, viewers. Huddie will be with us momentarily, and I think Dom might even join a little bit late. But yeah, we're here, ready to talk markets, answer some questions, maybe vent about our, I don't know, I want to say drawdown blues or just the current market environment, which, at least for me, has not changed since we finished 2025. So still in a drawdown for myself. I forget how bad or if at all Huddy was in a drawdown or if he's just trading sideways. But pretty much most people I know or at least I've talked to, are having a rough time. Like even some of the best traders that I know we're all in the same boat for the most part. Obviously, that's not true for everybody. There are people who are making money and doing well, but I can probably count those people, at least that I personally know, like less than on my hand. And I can count more than people on my hand of people I know that are drawing down. It's kind of confusing why I can't really it's like patterns are there, but they're just not working, and it's the frustrating part because it's like, how do I not take the trades that are in front of me, but keep continually finding a way to lose on them? You know what I mean? But anyways, welcome everybody. Drummer Max asks, what trades did we take today, or did I take today? So on stream, for those who watch stream, I started with a small loss on CRML. Unfortunately, it then died. So I stopped out. It died after the stream. I thought it was going to die again, so I short some. Turns out, if you look at the chart, it didn't die. Stopped out again. And so that ended up being a loser that I took, but I'm not happy about it. I'm very actually annoyed because now it's looking like it's going to gap down, and it probably still offers a good downside tomorrow, but it just, I don't know. It's just a pain in my butt, and I have a hard time thinking in my brain that maybe tomorrow will be good and better, but I have a hard time wrapping my head around making a gain that will be making a better risk reward trade tomorrow on it with a gap down that's going to make better or make up for the loss I have today. And I say that because, it's like, okay, I took a loss today, totally fine. Like I can accept a loss, but then if I don't make it back and then some from a risk adjusted or risk reward standpoint, it's like I end up being red or not nearly as green on the ticker, and that's how you don't make money. So we'll see. I don't want to be too pessimistic about it, but I'm I don't want to be over optimistic and then leave myself for disappointment. You know what I mean? So there's that. What else? I got stopped out on a swing only, or I think CHYM only for it to come right back, and so I actually just rebought that. What else? I sold my SIDU long overnight for break even. So that's not too bad. And then what else? I think that's mostly it.
What else?
Oh, I tried to buy another swing and I immediately stuffed the moment I bought it. So it was like literally,
Nice.
yeah. So it was another loss. And yeah. So red today, was green yesterday, was red on Monday. So we're red on the week. We're kind of just my drawdown hasn't gotten worse, but we're just chopping at the lows. We've had the drawdown. It could get worse, but for the last 3 weeks now, essentially this week has given back the last 2 weeks of profits because of my December recap, or December last 2 weeks were profitable. This week I've pretty much given most of that back. So we're just chopping at the lows of the drawdown, unfortunately. But yeah, it is what it is. But I want to ask you, Eddie, when you were gone, when I started it. Are you? I mean, you're in a drawdown, but are you more? Is it more of a like sideways goes nowhere drawdown, or are you like me, where I'm just bleeding every single day, getting worse?
I have plugged the bleeding as the time stands right now, and I think now it's just about like being a really good trader and like executing the strategies that I know I have edge on, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of my bleeding, to be completely frank, came from the strategies that are not my core strategies. They're auxiliary strategies that like made me some money in 2025, but are not the bulk of my money. I mean, I guess swing trading could really be something special, but there's some like overnight longs I was taking too that like I knew was like kind of a flimsy pattern, and like they just all got crushed.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, So I know my problem. My problem is just stop doing the swings and stop doing the like high volume gapper longs and like breakouts, first red days, and gap and craps, my three core patterns. There's nothing wrong with any of those. So it's really just about sticking to that. Like, and then the other. So I'm not really bleeding anymore, and I feel pretty confident about those three patterns.
Mm-hmm.
The other issue is now I'm in an area where I'm afraid to lose. This is like one of the number one things that traders cannot possess. The trait of being afraid to lose, the trait of wanting to stop out before your risk level is breached, and it usually shows up in the form of I'm gonna move my risk level down to like break even. I'm gonna move my risk level down to like a high that makes sense or a low that makes sense, so that I lose a lot less money if it gets there. And like that level can still hold, and the pattern can still be intact, right? So to kind of like nail this moment home, there were some good first red days yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
SLS being like the very obvious one that was like phenomenal. And given how I would play DVLT would have worked out really well too. Um, and then there was another play that was like Sky Q was in there for a breakout, which also worked out pretty well. And but anyways, like the problem I had was like SLS, instead of just like sticking to my trade plan and sticking to my risk level, I kind of like just like scared myself out of the trade.
Mm-hmm.
And like long story short, if I just like my strategies on paper are up $14,000 between yesterday and today. And I am up $1,600 between yesterday and today because I'm trading scared. So I plugged the hole of like what's making me lose, and now it's about just executing the strategy correctly as I have it written out. And like that would eviscerate half of my drawdown in just 2 days because I'm only down like what $25,000, something like that.
Right.
Um, so like that's like the last piece. Like stop where you're losing, get back to Brendan. This is always the blueprint. Stop, plug the hole, get back to bread and butter strategies, and then execute them properly. And so, anyways, I'm looking forward to the future. I just need to like be less emotional, and the drawdown will do that to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the good news is that there's setups ahead abroad. It'd be worse if we were in a drawdown and then it's like you could be in a drawdown because you're like just trading stuff you shouldn't be trading, or you're in a drawdown because things aren't working. But the moment they start working and their setups, and like, or you follow them correctly, like you were saying, Huddy, it's like then your turnaround's right around the corner, and so that's what's you know the light at the end of the tunnel because we once the start. It's just so funny. Like I don't know why a mental shift of a new year changed this year because I mean I know you and Huddy and I we've seen like the January effect before, right? But like not necessarily so blatant or as so immediate as this
But
year, in
things
my
are really
opinion.
extended into the January effect.
Say it again.
The markets were just very extended. Like the April to November run was like
Yeah,
a pretty unique scenario too.
I think that's probably what set it up, right? Where like we had such a big run and so many stocks that by the time November, December came around, everyone was just already taking losses. And so then that just started all the loss taking for all of December. And then the moment 30 days passed and got into January, it's like everyone immediately was bullish again. And now like there's like 20 different stocks up, X amount of days in a row because it's just they were some of the hottest runners in that last 6 months of the year period. Which is funny. I haven't seen it necessary. I mean, everything's going to be always different. The market isn't always the same, but it's a very unique scenario with January effect that I haven't seen play out before as unique as this one. So it's interesting. It's different. Um, let's see. Keep looking at the chat. Huddy looks like the guy that I would approach at a rave and ask if he sells drugs. Okay. You're gonna pull out your Jaggy, like, you want some of these? Um, German Max says BNAI was the first decent, or wait, was a decent first Reddit today. Let's take a look.
Okay.
BNAI didn't down 17% today. I mean, I would be a little more specific though, Drummer Max, of like, that's probably not a first red day. Yes, it had a red day. but it doesn't technically meet the criteria for like for like there's things that are having like a first red day, and then there's the first red day setup. Like yeah, BNII is having a red day after not having a red day for 2 days. But like I wouldn't, there's no world in my watch list I was putting this on it and calling it and looking for it today to have a first red day. Just because it literally had a red day on Monday, and now it's not really even that extended off those levels. In fact, it's right at them. So, the only way it's slightly extended from is the twos, but even then, it's not even up 100%.
I actually kind of had a no trade day today, which was pretty good. There were a couple stocks I liked coming into today that I thought had some merit. MNTS was a breakout that I was kind of watching, but also didn't love the overhead on it. And then GPUS, I was also watching for a breakout, but for reasons again, I just didn't like love it. It didn't like it wasn't perfect. Um, I was gonna come in at the end of the day and buy GPUS, but I honestly feel like I should be long from 31 and 36. It might be like a little too like again, like in a drawdown, I don't want to be chasing a breakout 25% higher than where I should be in from because I'm asking to take a loss. And in a drawdown, like that's really not okay. I should have the cushion to swing into tomorrow if I'm gonna play that stock. Okay? And like same with MNTS, right? Like I should be in from 1175. But they just were like a nail bet away from fitting criteria for me. So I didn't take any trades today, which is good. Like honestly, in a drawdown, like the more specific you can be, I think the quicker, like for me at least, I'll get out of it.
Yeah. Steve, welcome.
Hey, girls.
How we doing?
Hey, bud.
Doing good.
We were talking about before you joined our drawdowns and or our trades we've taken and what we're doing or how our drawdown is occurring, and how we're hopefully getting out of it.
Oh, you can't draw down if you don't trade.
Yeah, exactly. I'll stop it right now. And sometimes that is the answer. I would agree with that.
No, I've been pretty busy, so I've been watching too much. The two that Huddie brought up, pretty nice. GPUS. I'm trying to remember if I traded it back in September, but that chart looks weird. I don't know if it was just. I don't know. Maybe it didn't work, and because it didn't look like it did much, but I thought I remembered it being a pretty good trader.
I think maybe was it 2024? I do remember. I know what you mean, but I think it was. Was it 2023? Was that really early? Just that early? Maybe we're thinking of a different ticker because I know what you mean. Like I look at GPUS and I think this is one that we've all known, but when I look at the chart, I'm like, wait a minute, I can't find the move that we all know.
This is okay. First of all, GPUS ran big in May of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were all kind of watching it in that time. But this is DPW.
That's what it is. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
All right, checks out. Okay, let's look. Real Jim Smith says, I traded ORB long 3 to 20. What scan settings may help you cleaner price act? Wait, what? Sharing a trade and then asking scan settings? Jim, you're confusing me here. Is ORB
is this a real Jim?
Yeah, the Real Jim.
Oh, his name is the Real Jim?
He said he's saying I trade opening range breaks long in the realm of 3 to 20. Okay. It's not a trade, just a criteria. Gotcha. What scan settings help you get cleaner price action? I wish there was a scan like that, but not one that I'm aware of. My scanner, any scanner I have, will just give me an over needed amount of stocks, and then I have to narrow it down myself. Whether by smooth action, choppy action, price range that's okay but not that good, or extension that's okay but not that good, or the chart looks more like a real company than a complete scam or a true penny stock, like market cap wise. So I really just scan for big percent gainers and then nail it down from there. I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that, but it'd be kind of cool if you could like, maybe AI will create that in the near future where you can scan for like very unique characteristics that you're looking for. Like so unique that literally in AI or an algo, you'd have to curate it for that exact thing. Like I don't want a stock that's, I don't know. I don't even know how I would say it. I would describe it like never touches red green but that's kind of easy because it's always like the previous day's low is just never below the previous day's close. So that's easy. But I'm thinking like, I don't know, a ticker that's just less choppy and you can like define choppiness by like intraday range or something, or intraday like 5-minute range. So every 5 minutes, you know how crazy it is or not. I don't know. But anyway. John Hall says, CRML looked like a red day. Hope it doesn't gap down too much. I would agree. If it gaps down too much, it'll be very frustrating. How do you guys manage risk on small cap swings? It's easy to imagine a ticker do an offering in after hours or announce news like a delisting that could drop the stock 20% in a few minutes. I mean, knowing what
it depends on what you mean by swing.
Yeah.
I think generally, for sure, I can say it for us three. We're not swinging small cap stocks for that exact reason. Like, there's way too much risk involved with like swinging these horrible companies. When like we're talking about swing trading, like holding and following a trend line, like Kwamagi style, like generally want to do those on good companies that are running on good fundamentals. As far as like swinging like one night and like selling or covering the next day, I mean, I think it's just a risk you got to take. And like, I think a lot of us just like take the assumption that like while the stock is running is not generally when we see it get destroyed. It's usually like days or weeks after the run. It's like usually not the day that it's breaking out. There's the day that they kill it with an offering. It can happen. It's just rare. And like you have a stop loss in or you sell and like it's not really the end of the world.
Right.
Or the worst one is like bankruptcy or like biopharmaceutical news. Like if you get caught in that, like that's detrimental.
Right.
Especially if you have tight risk.
And you can kind of over time, I think you can get a feel for which ones might be riskier than others. And I say feel as in like, I mean, the Dilution Tracker's made it quite easy to do this now, where it's like you can quickly go on Dilution Tracker and find out how much cash the company has. But it's pretty easy to do this in the filings too. But it's like if they have no cash, and they're able to do an offering, which Dilution Tracker can tell you, it's like, okay, yeah, then that might be something where the risk is higher and you don't take those swings. But if there's a small cap breaking out and there's no offering, I should say no offering risk, but very minimal offering risk, they have months of cash left to where they would not need to do an offering, then it's like you can go ahead and just trust the pattern on that one, right? So stuff like that. But even
I would also say like, yeah, even then it's not foolproof. I would also say like, if you're using like a really tight risk level and swinging overnight, like that's probably like the best way to like defend against it is to widen your risk so that your 1R is like far away. Because if you're using like a really tight, like let's say your risk level is like 5% away, and then the stock tanks like 50% in the after hours because of an offering, like you're gonna lose 10R if you can't cut for whatever reason because you're not here. Yeah. Whereas like if you're risking like, I don't know, 20%, which is why again like swinging overnight with cushion is good. Like if you're risking like 20%, like you have some type of wide risk level, then like, okay, if it gaps down 40%, like that's bad, but you're only losing 2R, and like 2R is not the end of anyone. Even like 60%, like 3R is not the end of anyone. Like that's in theory 3 trades if you're trading correctly.
Right.
So,
but yeah,
you got to be careful of tight risks.
And even then, right? Like if you plan on trading on the long side and swing and taking them overnight every so often, let's say for 5, 10, 20 years, like if you're like thinking long term, it's inevitable. Like you can't the only way to like Dom said, the only way to avoid stop losing and stop trading, the only way to completely avoid anything overnight is just to never take something overnight. So that's
do you know how many times I've been caught in an offering?
Yeah. So that's your risk profile, then just never do it. But if you're, if you see there's potential in catching gap ups over time, then yeah, 1 out of 50 gap ups, you're just going to have a rough day, or don't swing.
Most of the bad ones, and I mean, it's what it is. Like, it didn't take me long, a couple months when I was learning how to trade to get stuck in one, and you know, it's so unpredictable too. Like the same type of news, the same type of bad news, what it does to the stocks. I mean, there've been times where you sell on the news and after hours, you take your 3, 4, 5, 10 hour cut, and then you wake up the next morning and it's green. It's like higher than was when you bought it. And there are other times like biotechs, like my biggest loss ever, where you just lose like 90% in 2 minutes, and it sucks. And I think those are few and far between. Like, you get stuck in so many offerings, so many bad news, any news, even it doesn't even have to be bad news, just sometimes any news. But I think Huddy kind of did the math on like the next day. It's like the max read a lot of these runners are is like 30%. Like, I don't what's the data? It's not, is that the max or like the max
Well,
average
well,
or
that's on like a very specific like
but
type of
those are
runner.
mostly the types of stocks that people are swinging, right? Strong, up on the day a lot.
Yeah, like there's only a handful that will gap down 70%. There's like an open the next day down 70%. I don't know how far down they're going to go in the pre-market. Like they could go further and then bounce by market open type of thing. But like they're like generally like the worst case you see for most of them is like 30, 40, 50%. Like 60, 70, 80 is probably reserved for like the delistings or the biopharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
They happen, and those
I got
happen.
kind of delisting the other month, last month.
Um, Yeah, managing risk is important, not swinging something oversized. Like I think what Huddy said is important. Like the tight risk is really good and fun for maximizing risk reward. But if the stock's up 200% over the past month or a couple weeks and the air gets let out of that overnight because of bad news or something, then there's a lot more than just a couple cents of risk that you're taking on. So
Right.
it's one of those things where you got to accept this as part of the game when you start playing the game. And hope that you don't put yourself in like blow up situations, understanding how much money is into each trade versus how much you're risking, and know that over time you will overcome those oopsies. Um, yeah.
Um, John says I took MNT or MNTS today at the breakout level and swinging to open tomorrow. What are your concerns to why you didn't want to trade it? I mean, I don't think I even was watching it when it broke out.
It fit so much of my breakout pattern. I've just done a little bit of like I think overfitting of the strategy. I've like looked at like stocks that have like highs in the past 20 days that are above the breakout level. And it did bring down the average gain, not by like a significant amount, I would say, but it did bring it down. So like if we're looking at MNTS, the breakout level is 1169. This is a good breakout in my book. It's extended into the level. We consolidated today. We broke out. But we have this like area in the 17s and 18s from less than 20 days ago that like given that data that I saw, like I don't know if trading situations like this over the long run is necessarily the best thing to do. It doesn't surprise me that it works because it wasn't like the most detrimental thing, and I'm sure if this had volume, like it's probably something I can be discretionary about. But like for the most part, like it was on my watch list. Like this was like something that I was like willing to buy, and then I kind of changed my mind at the last minute because I didn't like the overhead. Um, so it's like on a technicality. I still need to get better data with the multi-day breakouts. I'm still trying to like perfectly like find how I want to approach these.
There you go. Yeah, for me, I just didn't have one watch. Like breakouts are not my specialty, and so I mean, 9 out of 10 breakouts, I'm never going to be a buyer of. I'm pretty picky with when I like them or don't like them. Or if I don't buy them at the breakout level, I would be buying them for a gap up. So like MNTS, I don't necessarily love it, but it wouldn't shock me in another world where I maybe not in a drawdown like Huddy and I were talking about earlier in the stream. Like if I was feeling a little more risk seeking, it's like, yeah, I would be buying, let's say MNTS somewhere in here, risking like in the 12s and then hoping and looking for a gap up, 16 plus. But it's not something that I care to lose money on in the event I'm wrong. So,
But give him day 4 of a breakout and then Kyle's taking it overnight, like Cedu.
yeah, Cedu is one of those examples where I thought I was right, wasn't going to be right. And so we just got to nimble it down a little bit. But I didn't lose money, though. It did gap up. I just didn't, didn't gap up into the open. I should have sold in like pre-market or after hours. That would have been cool, but that's not the
Yeah,
plan.
that's like like I talk about drawdown, like that's the exact type of trade that I feel like in a drawdown we got to avoid,
Yeah,
you
you gotta
know?
tighten it up. I do agree.
But it's also tough because while you're in the drawdown, like you want to make money so badly that you're willing
It's like
to
this could be the
take that
trade.
trade.
This could be
Yeah,
it to get you out.
I get it. But like you clearly look at C2, it's like it's not a breakout. It's like a choppy runner. Like the breakout's at 320. Like
Yeah,
we're way past that.
it's much
Um,
overdone.
yeah. So
Excuse me.
MNPS was pretty good today. GPUS was pretty good today for breakouts.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to continue tomorrow. I would say MNTS probably has a good shot at it at this point. We'll see. At least we got. There's two ways to be a loser in the market, right? You can like lose because there's nothing to trade, and so you give into boredom trading. Like that happens quite often in November, December. I think a lot of people probably suffered from that. And then you're losing because, well, for lack of a better word, you suck in the moment of executing your own pattern, right? Like in a football game, like you can lose because the other team is better than you, or you can lose because you get a bunch of penalties, because you're throwing a bunch of picks, and like you defeat yourself. And like knowing those two differences, I think is important, and like being accountable for those, right? Like right now, like November, December was like I was giving into boredom trades or I was trying to swing trade in a bad market, whatever. Right now, I'm losing because I'm not executing properly. I'm defeating myself. There are trades to be had. There are things moving. So it's not all doom and gloom like it was like a month ago.
Yeah, November was tough. Things are looking brighter over here. I find when I enter on a dip, I get the highest risk reward. However, chasing never goes well. Do you guys have any advice for waiting for the right entry and not over trading? Josh, you got to be more specific with a specific pattern you're doing it on. You know, what time of day you're doing it on, what kind of stock you're doing it on. It's like just entering on dips versus entering at highs on anywhere in the market is so broad. You could get vastly different answers and strategies and reasons for doing so. And also it depends on style. Like I rarely buy dips. I buy high and I sell higher, like almost all the time. Like I'm not the guy to, you know, sure my risk reward might be worse off because of it, but like I want to be right. You know, I'm a win rate kind of guy. Not doesn't have to be the highest, but I like winning typically a lot, which is hard to do on long. So I'm not long biased from most of the small cap world. But yeah, so if you want to add more context, you can.
It's just
Yeah,
not how I trade.
Huh?
I don't know. For me, it's like just not how I don't use intraday charts. I use daily charts. So I'm not buying dips ever. So I don't know.
Buying the resistance break like you're like me. You're buying the high to sell the higher.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm shorting the low to cover lower.
There you go. Fair. Excuse me. How do you consider macro factors for first red days? CRML has a Greenland mining product for heavy metals. And Trump and Greenland have been in the news. I mean, that's cool, but it doesn't. It's not gonna. When you're looking for a first red day, you're looking for a very short moment in time, like on the broad spectrum of news or of again the stock's fundamental value long term. Like I'm looking for an hour of selling and then I'm out. You know, so yeah, news can be important, and it is important to know if there's anything a little bit crazy. Like I don't want to just blindly short earnings winner. I do want to know if there is news for sure, but if the Greenland and Trump are in headlines and SRML happens to have a Greenland mining project, like it should be if the news was that meaningful, it should be up way more than it is right now, because it's bounced 100% off the lows, but so many other stocks have done the exact same thing. It's kind of just following the sector of stocks that ran around the same time CRML has run. So in this instance, I don't think it's that meaningful, to be honest, right? I'm looking for literally give me an hour of selling and I'm out. I'm gone. CRML can kick rocks, right? So hopefully that helps. Let's see.
Yeah, like I'm gonna be short for one day. Like what it's doing with Trump have to do with this one day that I'm gonna be short?
Yeah, very brief. And even sometimes, and I'll go as far to say, even on sometimes when there is good news that you shouldn't short, there's still a window to short. Like again, you have to be good, and you have to be really timing has to be really really done well. But like, when all the time when a company is like releasing like phase 2 news, right? Like or phase 3, where they're clearly bringing and working on a drug, and the data is good. If it goes up enough, it's going to pull back. That's the problem, is that that's what it is timing, right? So you have to time it correctly, but it doesn't mean just because look at Nvidia, right? Nvidia's had incredible news. It's been one of the biggest winners in the last 5 years or so, but there's 100% been pullbacks along the way, right? And so now put that on a micro scale for like a small cap with good news that could be good, but it's probably not life changing, and so there's going to be pullbacks, and so that's what trading is, but. For short selling, for short days, that's what the name of the game is it's timing.
I don't want there to be a pullback because then I'll kind of be there for the breakout too later. If it goes down like that, like if it's really truly a good forward looking catalyst, stocks shouldn't just go straight up. They should pull back. They should consolidate, and they should make their next leg higher. That's like a healthy stock. So we're just trying to like find our little moments of edge, take advantage, and then move on and not marry the story.
Yep. There we go. Let's see. Okay, right on. Excuse me. SIDU, SLS had nice first red days. Just curious, what are your thoughts on RGC for a parabolic short? Appreciate it. You'd be on the right track. I'm just very scared of this thing because I think people have either forgotten or they remember like I do. This was the one that went from like $1 or $2 to like 400, something nuts, and then they did a forward split.
RGC and NBY, they both have the same charts.
Yeah,
and they're both sketchy as hell.
Just a little scary. So yes, technically, objectively, you look at the daily chart. Yeah, looks great. But then you add you look at the other factors that, kind of back to our last question, not necessarily news-based, but just like factors-based, characteristics-based. And the fact that I know this was the company that went from $1 to like 300 and then actually got to forward split themselves. It's just a little intimidating, a little scary. Doesn't mean it can't pull back. Like obviously the daily chart has had plenty of pullbacks, but again, timing. Timing's everything. So we'll see. Well, and then the problem, let's say the hardest part about the timing is that you have to be there to find out. Like if you're not there, then you just watch it in hindsight, like, oh, that's what it did, which is how you can learn. But the timing tomorrow will be either you win and it pulls back, or it goes higher and you stop out. There's unfortunately only one way to truly find out for yourself, and that's give it a whirl.
Unfortunately, I do have to get out of here early today.
Okay.
Which is kind of like right now.
We'll allow it, right, Dom?
I guess so. Doesn't seem like we have a choice, Kyle.
That's all right, Eddie. That's cool.
All right. I'll see you guys for Good Morning NASDAQ tomorrow and a live webinar.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
See you. And he does have a market open webinar tomorrow. Let's see. Will says, are we thinking Bitcoin to all-time highs in 2026 or 2027? No. 2026, I don't think so. Maybe. I mean, 2027 is possible. But I wouldn't say I'm bearish, but I'm definitely not bullish. Not bullish for 2026.
Is that scary for you?
No, I'm used to it.
It's a lot of days where you just have to not be bullish but hold.
You got to just chill, just hang out. Well, you could say I'm less, but you could say I'm less bearish. Like I don't think Bitcoin is going to drop 70% like it did in 2022 or 2018, but dropping 50%. If the highs are 126, that would be like 60K. That's possible. Maybe it doesn't, but I don't know. I see a lot. It happens every year. or not every year, but every time Bitcoin goes up big time, which was like last time 2021, then 2024 and 2025, like there's always people pounding the table after the fact of like, no, but it's not good. Like there's always people who never want the party to end, you know? And so there's always people calling for like a super cycle or like, oh, it's not over, it's going to keep happening. And again, there's always a chance that's true. But I would like to think this time is not going to be different. And so if it's exactly the same as it always been, just rhymes a little bit differently, you know, we're not going to be going to all-time highs for 2026. Do we like NBY? Price action feels controlled and scammy. Yeah, again, same idea with RGC. NBY was a good first red day earlier last year. It's weird to say last year, but earlier 2025. But it had good volume then. Now the volume is okay. It's enough to trade, like it's safe to trade, but it's light enough to where I don't entirely trust it. And as extended as it looks, it also just at the same, and then in the same token, just broke out over $6. So it's not even up 100% from the breakout level, but it's up, you know, well enough from when the run started. But the run started over a month ago, so it's tough. I again, back to what we were just saying about, you know, if you want to get out of drawdown, you got to be picky. I would argue this is one that I'm going to be picky for and not short tomorrow. So.
It's only one day of run.
Yeah, it's really only one big day, which is today. If it went one more day to tomorrow, and tomorrow goes to like 14, 15, okay, now we're talking. That's a world where I probably can't ignore that. So
I can ignore that.
I was like, I can ignore all this
yeah,
crap.
you don't need to do anything. I can ignore that.
How do you determine if a stock is breaking resistance on a long as opposed to entering a stock that's being extended? Determine whether stock is breaking. I'm interpreting this question as like, how do you know you're not chasing a breakout, right? Like how extended does a stock have to be to where then you won't buy it, even though maybe technically it could look or fit the criteria of a breakout, but if it's up 100% into the breakout level, it's probably you're buying resistance versus breaking it. I don't know. Do you have a more set percentage, Dom? I don't really have a set amount in my brain. I just kind of know
breakouts are tough. That's why I don't like when Huddie tries to I think it's the hardest pattern to systematically trade, because the only reason I have found success with it my whole career is almost due to the artistic discretion of being able to maximize risk reward, because I don't think I think the more high win rate you make a breakout on a pattern where just there is resistance there, and they don't always bust through and run 50, 100%. So you got to make your money by maximizing risk reward. But for me, it has always been like, the answer to that question is that I don't want to be that guy buying at resistance. I always hated watching Cortani's trading tickers too, because it always felt like I was doing that, like I was chasing a straight up spike into a breakout. There's no direct answer to how much is too much. We have breakouts that start, look at INBS the other day. It goes from, opens at 8 and is breaking out over 13 minutes later. Like, how do you not feel like you're taking crazy pills buying that? Like, I would never buy that, but it still went up a couple more dollars past that. Like, so there can never be a number where it's too far away to break out. Like, but for me, that's why I tend to try to buy early. That's why I do focus on intradays in the intradaily, where I have my key resistance, where I expect there to be shorts using as risk. I expect maybe shorts to short into. And then I'm looking for, what I call shooting distance from the highs. So there's no specific number, but the closer, the better. I'm trying to think of one recently, like BNAI was probably good the other day, right? We run from 1 to 290, and then we're in the 230s and 40s. No, 2 to 270s the day before, and then we're opening the 250s and breaking over 290s. That's not that big of a move for it to go and then run another 20, 30, 40%. So my best breakout trades are always ones where the stock is right up near those highs, consolidating. What was the big one I had recently? Was the SMX a couple months ago? Why can't I Google? Google on my chart. But back then it was, a stock that was running 20, 30, 40 plus dollars a day. And then what does it do the day before the breakout? It's a high of 69 and a low of, where's the low? 54, $15 a share. So I want sideways price action tightening where it might look like you're chasing on the daily, but in the moment you're not chasing because the price action is quite close. That's kind of how I differentiate. If you see that you're always buying into straight up moves, and if you have arrows on your chart and you're always at the highs of those arrows, we need to reconvene and go back to the part of the trade right before that. What was happening? Was it consolidating? Was it going sideways? Was it in a tight range? There's got to be a better entry than that. That's why I don't necessarily need to. That's why I don't really ever buy the breakout level unless it's an ad, because I don't like to do what you're talking about and be that person that's dealing with all the chop and the volatility right at the key level.
Right. Well said. I got nothing to add there. Let's see. Is Huddy going to rave? Probably not.
It looked like it.
I would guess dinner. Stephanie asks, so where's the wine? Funny you asked, Stephanie. Over the course of our live streaming career, since we
Where's
started,
the what?
She said, where's the wine?
Oh.
Yeah, over the maybe in the last 2 or 3 months for all three of us, me, Huddy, and Dom, we've just ironically at the same time all just gotten a little healthier, in the sense where when we've done wine. Wait, God, how long have we done Wine Wednesday, Dom? It's got to be at least 2 years straight.
3 years now.
Yeah, probably 3. Where it's like when we have a glass of wine every Wednesday, I feel like subconsciously we're like.
The problem was it was never for me and Huddy one glass of
Yeah,
wine. For you, it was like half a White Claw.
Yeah.
We would sit here with the bottle and go, "Oh, we're still going. We're still going."
The first Wine Wednesday ever, Huddy drank a whole bottle by himself. So.
Yeah.
we've sensed we haven't banned wine, and I'm sure eventually I will bring back wine, but we've gone on a maybe a multi-month dry January idea. Never spoken about it, but we just all what was it, 3 Wine Wednesdays in a row, none of us had wine, and we're like, wait a second.
It was just growing up.
Yeah, it's like we're just tired of drinking so much. So anyway, on first trade days, when do you want to use the previous high day versus high of day, and when would you use it in an intraday level? It depends. For me, it's a risk reward thing. Well, it's a risk reward and win rate thing. So if I know I can get good risk reward using the higher risk level, which would give me a better odds of the trade working, that's what I would use. But if I know that the previous high of days or the highest risk level is so wide that my risk reward would be less than 1-to-1, where it's I would risk 10K to make 4K, something terrible, something so bad that it wouldn't make any sense to take the trade. In that moment, then I know I have to find either a new risk level or I have to miss the trade. There's moments where I will not take a trade at all because the risk reward just doesn't make sense. And it's not exactly if I'm risking $1 a share, that I need to make sure I'm making $3 a share downside, because it's very easy for a newbie to be like, oh, I can risk $1, but there's never going to be $3 a share of downside. They think there's going to be, because that's what the reward has to be to make sense. But first Redditors could care less what risk reward you think you're going to get. So it's almost a matter of risking a small enough amount to where the downside will be worth it. And so first Redditors are going to give you, -10, -15, sometimes -20% plus downside. You really can't risk more than 5 to 10%, because if you do, you either need a red day that is going to drop 30, 40, 50%, which are rare, or you're going to get 1-to-1 best case. So it's a mix of knowing okay, if the best risk level is just too far away to where risk reward's not going to make sense, then I need to pick a level that's probably set in the last 10 minutes, the last 30 minutes, maybe it's a pre-market level. But again, doing so then lowers my odds of the trade working. In fact, there was a short the other week, was a GSLI where I had to short risking the high of day. It didn't die. It came back, stopped me out, but held the previous day's highs, and then still came back late day and worked. So one of those ones where I took a loss, but because I just, from a risk reward, win rate, risk perspective, I couldn't risk the right level that mattered most. Whereas had you would have made money. You wouldn't have made a lot of money. Your risk reward trade would have been 1-to-1 at best, but it happens sometimes like that. So that's how I mentally try to handle it. Discloses, I feel like I'm in 2022 again, but with the mistakes I learned from 2023, 2022. Yeah, I mean, this drawdown for me has been the longest and the deepest. Because I was actually looking at previous drawdowns, I think a while back, and I was looking at like, well, how long is the drawdown from peak to trough? And then how long is the drawdown from peak to new peak, right? Like, so when is the bleeding at? How long till the bleeding stops? And then how long till I get back to new highs and technically have recovered the whole drawdown? And this, if we make it past January at 3 months plus, that will be probably the longest period for me, or one of the longest. And in terms of money pulling back, it will be the deepest pullback of money given back per se. But I only say that because that's how I felt about 2022. But when you really look at my 2022, in fact, I'll double check this. I didn't really I had a pullback towards the end of 2022, but during the whole year of 2022, I had pullbacks, but it was actually quite an active year. It was just active for the wrong reasons. Shout out to China Pumps. Dom knows what I'm talking about.
It's fun. All of my biggest trades in my career were in 2022.
Yeah.
People always talk about like it was the worst one ever. But we had IMPP, INDO, GBR.
Yeah, there was a
couple of those China Pumps were big gains as well. I took some big losses.
Yeah.
But it was one of the bigger years of my career.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a big year for me until the very end, where I had to sell a lot of long-term stuff that just gave back half my year, and that was kind of my own doing. It really wasn't the year's fault. It's just when I made too much money that I know what to do with in 2021, I just kind of threw it at a bunch of things that I thought would go up, and then you do get hit with a bear market like 2022 was, and ergo I just held on and then watched them, die. But again, that's kind of more of a me thing, not necessarily a market thing. Nick says, how many charts do we have up during the day and what time frames? For me, it's usually all 1 minute. Sometimes I'll of course look through multiple, dailies or 10 minutes or 30 minutes, but if I'm trading it's usually on the 1 minute. But also because I already know what the daily looks like. Like I'll never trade something without looking at the daily first. So if I pull up a chart, I'm looking at the daily, but then after that, then I go into the intraday. But I usually have one in front of me right here, usually during the day. And then it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. About 12 charts.
I think I have 17 or 18.
Yeah. And I kind of want more. I've been
screens.
procrastinating on getting another monitor, but
I feel like you can never have every time. It's more I think about it's laziness. Like every day I'll make my watch list or whatever, and I'll have charts up, and then as people will filter in the room, like say, oh, this stock's moving this one, and I'm like, oh, I remember, Dominic, you miss trades because you get notified of stuff and then you don't look at it again until the end of the day, and that's why you missed it. So I'm like, you got to be more active about changing charts up, and if something's dead, then we also have this fear, like I'm going to delete that chart, and then 2 hours it's going to be a huge breakout or something,
and you stop looking at it.
Yeah, it's always like that. But and mine are almost exclusively on daily charts, because that's really what I'm waiting to see. And if it's like something I'm like, and it's it's not third eye, it's not second eye, it's right now this left eye. It's intraday of the open with no pre-market. I start the day with a black chart, and then it makes its first print at 9:30.
You like it like that?
Yeah,
you're crazy. Oh my god, I have to like see, when the market opens, I usually have to see most, if not all, of pre-market. And in some cases, I want to see yesterday's levels. So I'll pull up an intraday chart of like both yesterday and the open. So I like see it relatively range-wise where it is to yesterday's price action.
I feel like I'm so daily chart focused that if I'm looking at something today, it's because I expect it to go up or down. And so then I want this morning to be like what I'm focused on. Like if I think it's going up, like it's a reversal or something, like I want that risk tight, and I want to like see some sort of higher low and lower highs converging, or a 5-minute high break with risk on low day. If I'm trading a big breakout or something, I'll have like a 3 to 5 day chart on. If I'm shorting a first red day, like it's all pattern dependent. I will have yesterday's plus today, so that way I can see that we're in a weak trend, or which levels. Like I don't want to just risk red green if there's a level just above it that was yesterday's like afternoon high or something. So it's dependent on what I'm trying to do with it, or it's a daily chart. That's kind of how I have my chart set up.
Very nice. So what patterns are we seeing repetitive right now and are on our watch list? We kind of covered a group of them this morning on the Good Morning NASDAQ stream about there's just a bunch of smaller, not I shouldn't say smaller price, but just a lot of small cap stocks like coming back and forming breakouts. Right, you had SkyQ yesterday into today. You have MNTS, you have GPUS today. So a lot of small cap breakouts are working now. They're not necessarily continuing that great in terms of like having a 2-3 day run. It's usually like what I've been seeing at least this week is like the breakout move is, and then the intraday move on that day is really the bulk of it. Eventually we'll probably have a market where there's continuation into day two, because that's my favorite kind, because I said earlier, I'm never really the guy to buy the breakup, but I can be the guy to buy into the close and then sell the next day for a second day higher. So that's kind of what we'll be seeing. We've been seeing some first red days pop up more, which is nice. But
are they almost all exclusively though in like the mid to large cap space?
SIDU offered a good one on Monday.
Monday.
It wasn't that great, but it was predictable.
It was on day 3.
Yeah. It's okay. You know, it was there. It wasn't A+ or anything, but I gave it a B. There was DXYZ last month, which was good, but I underplayed that one. There was SLS this week, which I undersized, but I also was kind of scared of it, and so I did only give it a C grade. It ended up playing out much better than that. So those two are the most common. Gap and craps have not necessarily haven't been working right now, but haven't really been happening right now. Like when Huddie scans in the morning, there hasn't been any significant gap and craps this week.
Do you ever go through, like, when you make that list, like, you know, DXYZ is probably less than a month back, right? Let me see.
It's got to be. Yeah, it's approaching it.
12/15, yeah. So like 3 weeks ago. When you start to go through the list, it always irks me, especially if you are in a drawdown. I'm not, but it's like, wait, how many stickers do I going to list off where something worked and I was paying attention to it? And it's like, why am I struggling again? Like, you know, CDU broke out. Right? I know CDU was straight, but if I was making my list, I'd be like CDU, then I'd be like BNAI. Okay, I could have risked 20 cents a share and made $1.50. You know, MNTS today. DXYZ, I was mad that I missed that short. You know, CDU was, you know, it was tricky the whole way, but it was movable. I hate when that's how I feel about my September, I believe. Maybe it was my October, where I was making my video that I do every month called the best breakouts of that month. I was like, whoa, this should have been like the best month of the year. There was like 17 good ones. And I'm like, missed like 7 of them, didn't maximize some of them. And I'm like, and this is why I do video lessons all year that are more about reviewing the plays and a lot of missed opportunity, because I feel like that's the stuff that's not in your data. You know, you might have a bunch of trades that fit breakouts, but like, did you miss 5 of them? Did you not swing some overnight? Did you cut some early because you were uncomfortable and then they went on to work? Like the nuances where you kind of find out your actual true potential. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of, that's no matter how good you get, I feel like unless you're like Nate level, who seems to nail everything perfectly on every opportunity, those are the ones where it's like, how do you have your best month ever? Well, it's just like being dialed and knowing what to do with every specific play, or just doing the same thing every single time and not letting it differentiate how you feel based on the day. I feel like there's just, whenever you go through the list, there's always more than you thought was there, and you could have done better.
Yeah, and that's kind of why my drawdown is frustrating, because I do the same thing. I look back and I look at all the opportunities. I'm like, there's actually plenty of opportunity to do well. It's like the mental mishaps. It's the giving back gains. It's not sizing correctly on the winners. Like DXYZ, I made money, but for how good it was and how predictable I think it was, at least for my style, like I should have made so much more. It wasn't going to be like this blowout home run win, but it should have made up for a couple losers, and it didn't even make up for a full loser. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't. And again, that's not going to be the whole reason like why I would get out of this drawdown. But like those small micro decisions or changes like really do add up. And it's like you could argue I go back and I have like 10 of them, and all of a sudden 10 of them leads to, you know, 6 figures in difference of you know, the outcomes. So you gotta, the margin of error is so small, and so you really have to, you know, be on point with it. let's see. All right, we'll do a couple more questions before we get on out of here. Do you want to pick them down? I kind of lost my spot, and
I don't have the chat open right
that's
now.
all right. Let me skim through here. Where do we leave off? There's that one. We got that. We saw that one. We answered that one. Okay, here we go. Thinking about leaving my day job to pursue day trading. I'm not consistently profitable yet, though. What do you guys consider, or what would you do to prepare for that transition? Or what would you do if you were me? I mean, I would be so profitable. Like this, to give you some tough love, saying I'm not consistently profitable yet. Immediately, no, don't leave your job. Don't do it. Save yourself the headache. I would. Gosh, I mean, again, for me and Dom is a little different because we were able to go full time with a very minimal expenses. As like, I was in college and I was living at home, so my
Wasn't a lot of risk.
Yeah, my life expenses were like as low as they were ever going to be.
Those were the days. I had dinner cooked for me every night.
Yeah, like it was too easy for me to go full time trading because I lived off $500 a month. You know what I mean? However, if I were to do it now with the bills and responsibilities I have now, and let's say I had a job, oh my God, I mean, I would have to be profitable for years. I would say at least a year or two at the soonest. And even if I'm profitable during that period, it would then depend on how much am I actually making. Like, have I made enough to actually so let's say I make $100K a year at some tech job or some sales job. It's like, am I making $100K a year from trading over those first 2 years? Am I tripling it? Am I quadrupling it? Or have I made so much money from trading in the first 2 years that I can then, live off that cash for like 5 more years? It's like, how the safer you are or the bigger moat you can build around the enemy of life and expenses, the better. So when people tell me like, oh, I haven't been profitable yet, but I'm thinking about quitting my job, it's like, if you don't have an insane amount of money saved up to where you could live off that saved money for months, if not years, like you put yourself in a very tough position because you could be unprofitable for a very long time. Even if you are profitable, you could we're not immune to this, guys. Like if I was in a very rare, unfortunate situation, if I stayed unprofitable for the next 2 years straight, you could argue I would run out of money. Now, I would be pretty dumb too. I wouldn't be managing risk correctly. I'd be just blowing myself up time. At some point, you'd have to kind of size down, and I'm already kind of there. But there's absolutely perfect scenarios where like if you don't, there's a saying of like it's hard to make money in trading. It's even harder to keep it, right? So like just from that perspective, like whatever you think you need to go full time, double it. Like whatever preparation you think you need to quit your job and go full time, like literally double it. Because you can never be too safe, because the last thing you want to do is quit your job, try trading and fail so hard that now you're jobless and that you're rushing to get a new job that you probably won't like because you're out of options, and you enter this downward spiral, right? You want to be on the upward, not the downward. And so doing that, you want to avoid that as much as humanly possible, right?
Yeah, I feel like that's the best advice. My brain, maybe I'm a contrarian and I would always listen to stuff like that. And my brain would think I'm different. I need to do something different because I'm just a different guy. But it's like a catch-22. I feel like because it's like, I feel like most people who try to do the part-time thing, I think definitely if you have the ability to like a good paying job and all you have to do is sacrifice 2 years of your life to save up and then downsize into an apartment and, have 3 years of expenses, like all the things like, you don't know how long you're going to live. That's the one thing caveat I would say. Who knows? You might never get the chance to go full time. That's the one, but that's a smart way to do it. I also feel like most people, it's like one of those things. Have you ever thought like, I really want this new toy or this thing, and then like 3 months later, you either get it or you don't. You're like, I don't really care. I don't even know why I wanted that thing. Like we just don't know what we want, and you might really want to be a trader right now. So you think jumping full time is the best thing to do, but it's like. It's weird because it's like almost like if you don't do that, most people probably don't put enough work. A lot of the part-time people, you just can't possibly get enough experience, get enough of the. It's almost like to get to the finish line, you almost have to at some point jump in all the way, which is like your recommendation's the best to give yourself the ability to do that safely. Because it is, there's a couple people in the room who do a really good job part-time. It sounds busy, it sounds tough, and it sounds really difficult the older you get with the more children you have and the more things you have to do on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, we're just, thank God that we found this when we were 20 years old. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough answer. We can never know what you should do. Follow your heart.
There you go.
Follow your dreams.
Alrighty, one more question here. A lot of questions left, but I apologize. We're running out of time. Feel free to save them for maybe Good Morning Nasdaq tomorrow or next Wednesday or in the room. If you join the room, we're always there answering questions throughout the day. So yeah, just save them. Save those for later. Last question that just immediately popped in my eye. Will ask how many weeks out of the year do you think you don't make any trades, if any? When I first started trading, many. Like when I was under PDT, there were a handful of weeks where I took one or less trades, just very minimal, just from a sheer fact of I was learning, didn't want to lose anymore, or just I ran out of day trades under the PDT. But as of now, like 2025, there probably was only 1 week, and I think that was like Thanksgiving or Christmas week. Other than that, every week has been some kind of trade has been taken or made. I'm just double checking. Yeah, Thanksgiving week, no trades. And that's not because I took off. That's just because I didn't close. Like I was still here. Like I was still making trades. I just didn't close any trades to like record them from a journaling perspective. So 1 out of 52.
1 full week?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if we added up all the days, how many weeks would that be? Mine probably adds up to 3 to 4 weeks. I think there was an outlier at the end of last year where I just was like, dude, I'm not trading if it ain't here. And I got super disciplined. So
yeah, that's a good way to look at
most
it.
months I trade every day, give or take like 2. And the answer should probably be more than whatever it is, because I had to go like 7 or 8 months last year to get to a day where I didn't trade. And I think that there's no way there was enough opportunities every single day to warrant me clicking a button every day. You really should be okay with not trading. The better you can get at that, the earlier on in your career, the better you're going to be, because during stretches like November, December, where it's really slow, you just don't give it the opportunity to blow it bad, to draw down huge. It's kind of the joke I started with. I'm like, just don't trade. But it truly is like, if it's not great out there and there's nothing where you're truly going to go out there and make your week, make your month on, and maybe that's not everyone's style, but if it is your style to trade well every single day, make money, and that's not happening, then that ain't happening either. So, yeah, I think being able to pull your foot off the gas and it took a lot of discipline November, December to not trade for a while. There was weeks with nothing, and it's tough. You lose your pulse in the market if you go too far away, but it's an underrated skill, being able to not take a trade.
Yeah. As you were talking there, it made me think differently of looking at, not necessarily a full week, but how many days of the year have I not traded? Then you could just add it all up and see how many weeks it would be. 27 days in 2025 I did not trade, so call it 4 to 5 weeks if you add it all up. But it was almost always like 2 or 3 days a month, right? It was never this one long stretch. It was very scattered out. So, all right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. A lot of great questions this evening. Again, sorry if we didn't get to your questions, but feel free to save them for later. And like, subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow. Good Morning Nasdaq, 8:45 Eastern. And see you guys. Bye.